we got the brute force semi-pro out here again today, and we moved those big ash rounds from the tree service that we got dropped off back in October to around the other side of the IBC totes here. So we're right where we need to be, so we can load them up with the log lift, split them, and stack them behind the racks here behind the camera. So I was able to find a tree service up on Facebook Marketplace looking for a place to drop off logs. So I reached out to them, and they said they were going to drop off 2 loads of logs on Monday, which would have been yesterday. And that didn't happen because I guess the tree job that he had planned, which was some ash trees, did not go through as planned, as the homeowner wanted to keep the rounds. So he must have loaded up some rounds from his yard at his place and dropped them off here this afternoon. And most of it's pretty good except for just about 2 logs. I'll show you. So we got some nice ash here with some other birch, and a lot more ash throughout here, some maple. But we got this nasty, ugly ash that is all just rotten, punked out. So I think that's just gonna end up getting burned, unfortunately. Another nice piece of maple. I don't know how well this one's gonna be because it looks like it's kind of rotten here. So unfortunately, I think this piece might go in the burn pile as well and just get rid of that. A little bit of locust mixed in here. And unfortunately, this nice round here of ash must have been the extension off that one. So nothing we're gonna be able to do with that, unfortunately, besides just burn it in the fire pit. But got a nice little bit of rounds for me to cut up here later this week. one round. Well, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but something's better than nothing. My mother had dinner for us tonight, so I kind of took up a little bit of time. Got about halfway through the rounds and ended up getting 2 face cords. There's one open rack at the end here, but I think I've came to the conclusion that I do not have enough space. So this is where I took one of the rows of maple. I'll probably fill this up with ash so I can turn this around quickly as well. Here's the 2 face cords that we just did, and there's one more empty rack here in the back, so we'll probably fill that up as well. We got all these ash rounds, we got about half of them done. So I'm thinking those 2 racks that are empty will be filled there. And I started a little bit on this cherry, but I haven't gotten very far with it, as you can see. And I'm thinking this will be the row of cherry. Right up in front here we'll do barkless cherry, and in the back we'll do anything with bark on. And then this empty row we'll probably just take in some of this ash here in round form. And I still have all this maple to cut up yet, and some pine I picked up. And my wood yard is pretty full. I got a little bit of room right here, but I'm thinking it's gonna have to happen here pretty quickly, is to get this stuff split up, get these weeds taken care of, and start putting in some rows here going this way. And then I got all this tree service stuff that was dropped on us today too that I gotta work on getting split up. So as you can see, I got a lot of work to do and not a whole lot of space. I'm thinking since it's gonna be August here next week, I'll probably end up starting to post my oak now and see if I can start moving some of that and start clearing out some racks to make room for more of this wood here. But regardless, I have to make some more room, especially if I'm gonna get another log truck this year and start working on next year's wood. So it's getting late now, mosquitoes are starting to come out, so I'm gonna call it a day, head home, try to enjoy the little bit of time I got left before I go to bed. Firewood fella, logging off.